Now, Congressman Matt Gaetz may have one-upped his not-so-subtle, hilarious dig with the pencil resolution barring shifty Adam Schiff from addressing and accessing any classified information. This after being booted from his position on the Intel Committee and lying to the public for years about the Russia hoax. Now, Democrats have systematically ignored a sitting national security threat who's accused of leaking classified material to the press and abusing his position of power to spread lies. In fact, the same day Congressman Gaetz introduced this legislation, Schiff announced his Senate bid. Again, you wonder why Americans have no faith in government. Now, post-Senate announcement, Schiff is now on another media tour, shamelessly doubling down on his Russian collusion lies. Here he is this past weekend.
You said that there was direct evidence of the fact that Donald Trump colluded with Russia back in 2016.
Well, if you read the Mueller report, he makes clear, even in the first few pages of the report, that he states no conclusion on whether Donald Trump and his campaign colluded with the Russians.
Ahead of the first Trump impeachment, you said the committee had not spoken to a whistleblower. In fact, that turned out not to be true.
When I was asked the question, I thought they were referring to whether we had brought the whistleblower in. And I should have been more clear in my answer.
Oh, he so easily lies to the American people, and CNN so easily allows it to happen. This is exactly why Americans have lost their trust in the government, and I agree with the majority of people. The #1 issue in this country is our own government. Every other problem on that poll stems from government policies, inflation, immigration, crime, the economy. The Biden administration loves to say we must address those root causes. Well, the American people have spoken, and the root cause, it's right here. It's the swamp, and it needs to be drained. I am pleased to welcome someone who is trying to do just that, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, great to see you in studio.
It's good to be here.
In person.
And you know what I think is going to help people trust our government more? These rules we got in place for the House of Representatives during the speaker contest, where we're not going to have to vote on some multi-thousand-page bill with just a day to read it that spends $1.7 trillion. We're going to get separate appropriations bills. The amendments are going to have to be germane to the underlying bill. A bill will have to deal with a single subject. And that, along with the accountability measures against Schiff and Swalwell, should help begin the process of restoring that critical trust.
Well, you've been busy. We're so glad that you're getting to work these days. But we want to also point out that we're in a position now where AT&T's DirecTV has censored Newsmax, and we're here to get out the word of what you're working on and get that out to the American people. But so many American people now can't watch Newsmax. And I want to ask you about that because Speaker McCarthy joined the program, joined Spicer and Company earlier today, spoke with us. Here were his thoughts. Listen.
I can't tell you the number of people who tell me they watch Newsmax and like what they're hearing and want to have the choice to see it. You're going to see action taken because we believe it's responsible to allow everybody to have choice of what news they can want to listen to, what they want to hear. It really comes down to a free speech matter, and they should not utilize that, and Newsmax should never be punished simply because they're a conservative news outlet.
So Congresswoman Lauren Boebert was also on our program last week. She echoed similar statement. They will be looking into this. Your thoughts? Will we see action here?
There is only one reason why we are seeing this cancel culture affect telecommunications. And it's because they don't like what you have to say. It's not a business case. It's not some sort of entrepreneurial play. It is content-based censorship, and we need a multi-vector attack on this. The Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice should be looking into this. The FCC should open an investigation into this. And, of course, the United States Congress should speak loudly about such an infringement of the rights of Americans to be able to use just their basic access to the digital world and to the telecom world to obtain diverse viewpoints. We didn't used to be so afraid of diverse viewpoints in America. And it wasn't that long ago, it was the left that championed this notion that we needed a great marketplace of ideas.
Right.
But increasingly, they're scared of anyone who reflects an America first or conservative thought.
Yeah, it's so true. And you look at all the liberal outlets that are on DirecTV right now, 22 of them, and yet they can't have Newsmax. But let's focus on what you've been working on, the Pencil Act, which we just talked about. A great name. I know you mentioned that to President Trump, and he liked that name. And that stands for the Preventing Extreme Negligence with Classified Information Licenses. It bars Adam Schiff from reviewing any classified material and also striking that false Russian collusion claim from the record. Is this something you think will get passed, and does it have the support of your colleagues?
Well, I have had colleagues reflect on their support for this legislation. Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell are dangerous to our country. They lied about intelligence. They created a structure of leaks and then embroidered those leaks onto other lies. You just saw Adam Schiff lying about his contact with whistleblowers. Even CNN had to recognize that point. But I have to tell you, Jen, I view the Schiff and Swalwell matter somewhat differently than I view the Ilhan Omar matter. Ilhan Omar didn't lie about our intelligence agencies. She didn't say that Trump was a Russian agent based on information from a particular committee that was just totally bogus. The reason I think a lot of Republicans want to kick Ilhan Omar off of the Foreign Affairs Committee is because they don't like what she has to say.
So
and like I was just saying to you...
You believe she should have remained on that
Well,
Foreign Affairs
I'm
Committee?
undecided on that question because the Democrats moved the Overton window. And I do believe Speaker McCarthy deserves deference, and so I want to hear him out. But I am undecided as of tonight as to whether or not I would vote to remove Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee, because it's one thing to do dangerous things to the country with intelligence. It's quite another to say, I don't like your viewpoint, and thus I want to remove you. I don't support that with DirecTV and Newsmax. I didn't support it when it was directed at my friend and colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it makes me uncomfortable that the case against Ilhan Omar, isn't being subjected to any due process. Right? If they think that she's brought discredit on the House, there is actually a House rule where there can be an ethics investigation and there can be a resolution with due process. So I would tend to lean toward giving the Speaker deference. I want to hear him out, but we shouldn't lump Omar and Schiff and Swalwell together in one bucket. Very different with the Intelligence Committee.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm sure a lot of viewers will be surprised to hear that.
They may hate it. They may hate it, but
you'll be hearing from them.
Sometimes you need to hear things you hate. I mean, go watch Ilhan Omar question, Elliott Abrams in the Foreign Affairs Committee about some of the neoconservative policies that were very detrimental in South America. So, sometimes, there is a view on foreign policy that isn't, invade everywhere, try to turn every foreign land into a Jeffersonian democracy. And there are times Ilhan makes those arguments, and they're arguments that at times align with America First foreign policy.
Right. Well, I want to ask you, because we only have about a minute left, but you wrote an op-ed for the Washington Examiner. It's titled, "The $90 million Howard University Contract Shows the Pentagon Prioritizes Wokeism After All." It's all about the leadership within the Defense Department, specifically Secretary Lloyd Austin, who obviously can't seem to figure out the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, why it happened, because he's really too busy pandering to liberals and awarding an HBCU with a $90 million research contract, which is based on race. Tell us more about this.
I think Lloyd Austin may be one of the dumbest people to have ever served in a presidential cabinet. He shows up at our committee and huffs and puffs about how the military's not woke. Then he shows up at Howard and says that the principal reason they're being granted this $90 million is race, that is the fundamental issue. Look, I don't think we should care what color people are. I think we ought to invest in defense research that is going to ensure we have the best radar and munitions and telemetry, and not try to execute on a DEI agenda or a virtue signaling instead of executing for the sake of our great service members who wear that uniform every day.
Well, Congressman Matt Gaetz of the great state of Florida in studio right here in the D.C. swamp. Got a lot of work to do, but glad that you could take some time to stop by and see us tonight.
Thank you, Jen.